Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It's so good to see all your faces. I know we're going to have some people joining us still in the next little bit, but wanted to pop on and say hello. I see you've all done so well and muted yourself so perfectly. I didn't know if we'd have a little bit of issues. Can everyone hear me? I see not everyone is necessarily on their video, but yes, everyone can hear me. Also, if you see the button for chat, it might pop up on the right of your screen if you're on your computer, or if you're on your phone, if you select that, it'll bring up a chat box. If you ever have questions about anything or are confused or your audio is not working or whatnot, then just type it in there since I can't hear you. But I am so excited for today. I got my tea with me so that my throat doesn't give out on me. Anyone else got their tea? Nice. Yes, water, tea. Good job, guys. Good job. I actually want all of you to say hello in the chat. I know we don't all know each other fully, or you guys don't know each other, but say where you're tuning in from today and what time it is for you. Because I was like really trying to make this time zone work for everyone. I know a few people messaged me like, girl, that is at 2 a.m. But I think it worked for most people. Dallas, Anna from Oklahoma, 10 a.m. Well, it's 10 a.m. here. It's the morning Los Angeles, 8 a.m. Nice. I was wondering if it was going to be too early for all my California friends, but good job, Surrey. Toronto-ish. Mom, that's my mom. Amazing. Well, I am super excited for today. I feel super expectant with what I'm going to share with you and just the importance of what it is that I have to share today that I really believe is going to be super impactful, especially coming into a new year. There's something about flipping the calendar page, starting fresh. It's exciting. It's like you want to step into a new version of yourself. I feel like it gives us that opportunity to kind of reflect and then step in differently. And, you know, we really have that opportunity every single day, but there's just something special about a new year and stuff. It's all good. You're not late. No one's late ever. Okay, so some things before we get started. If you are able to put your camera on and if you feel comfortable with it, I would love to see your face. I know we're all long distance right now, but this is the way of the future, guys. And this is how we can connect and see each other. And especially for me, like I want to connect with you guys. I'm not just speaking to a computer, you know, I'm speaking to people who have their own life and experience and world. And so I want to connect with you in that way. If you do feel comfortable, put that on. If you're unable to, because whatever the circumstance may be, no worries with that as well. Get out a notebook. I see some of you have a pen. Hey, Sarah. Some of you already have your paper and pen ready. Writing things down, paper to pen, is such a powerful tool, and it's used in psychology and through psychiatric work for our cognitive ability to even retain things, but also just helps us to engage. And you know what you're doing by showing up here this morning is you're investing in yourself. You're like, I'm going to sign up for this workshop. I'm going to show up and I'm going to engage because it's actually going to invest into my life. And when you come into something with that belief, then it's going to be true for you and you're going to leave full. And so that's why I encourage you to take notes, get out your notebook, ask questions. If I'm talking about something during this whole time and you're like, oh, can you clarify? I'm a bit confused, or I have a question about that. Write it in the chat box, just write a Q and write it. And whether I get to it in that moment or not, I will answer all questions. I'll come back at the end and really see if there's any questions that I need to answer. So feel free to ask away. No question is silly, because I think it's important that if someone's able to give clarity with something, that you get it, because we're here to help each other. And that's what I'm here to help you with today, to gain some clarity in your life. As well, we are going to have a little 10-minute break at about 10:55, depending on where I'm at. But I mean, I'm drinking a lot of tea, I'm drinking a lot of water. I'm gonna need to pee, refresh, stock back up if I need a snack. So we'll have like a 10-minute break for that, so that you don't have to run off and miss anything. All right, sounds good. I know people are still joining in. If you just joined in, say hello in the chat, say where you're tuning in, put your camera on if you're able to, so I can see your face. And I really wanted to start out really intentionally by taking a big deep breath together. We have this really powerful tool that we can use at any moment, at any time, and that is our breath, which helps to ground us back into the moment. It helps us to go from operating outside of ourselves back to within, which sometimes we don't notice how much we're operating outside of ourselves. So using your breath as a tool, taking intentional deep breaths and not just having that shallow breath in your chest, helps to ground you, and it helps you to be in the receiving mode of what's coming your way. So we're going to take a big inhale through the nose, and you want to feel it fill your belly. You don't want it in your chest. You want it to fill your belly. And then we're going to hold it and exhale through the mouth, kind of like a sigh of relief. Okay. And while we're doing that, I want you to visualize as you inhale, you're bringing in peace and calm to your body. And as you're exhaling, you're going to remove any fear and tension that you're holding on to. Okay. So we're going to take a deep breath. Ready? Okay. And inhale. We're going to hold it. 3, 2, 1, and release. Amazing. It just feels good to breathe. Sometimes we just forget to breathe. And it's bizarre, but we do. We just hold our breath all day long and forget to breathe. But that's okay. You know, the past 2 years around the world has just been a crazy time. And it's wild because we can all relate in that. We can all say, yeah, the last 2 years has been wild, has brought up a lot of things that maybe were buried within you. A lot of people are being vulnerable and sharing their struggles and pains. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to do within society, to really like share our stories, because we truly are all experiencing similar things. And so when it comes to just the pain, the struggle, and things that we're dealing with in life, something that is my personal mission with what I do, with my business, with my work, is really to bring more calm into the world, one person at a time, because that's really all we can do, is center ourselves, find peace within ourselves, and then that overflows to the world around us. And we're going to be talking about the work that it really takes to set ourselves free from whatever is keeping us stuck, free from the entanglements that we carry within ourselves of doubt, insecurities, fears, lack, judgment, all the things that are holding us back from living a beautiful experience of life. And often we're not even sure where we're stuck or how we're stuck, but we live in these little imprisonments within ourselves that I feel there's going to be a new wave of freedom in 2022. And I can feel that in my spirit deeply. And I feel that it's part of my purpose to help you unlock that. And so unlocking a state of inner calm, what this workshop is really about, is that it's freeing ourselves from within, unlocking that deep sense of inner calm that we actually forgot we had access to. We always have access to this, and each one of us here has that. And so today I'm really going to be laying the framework of a new foundation of what it means to find health in your life, because learning to live a healthy life is actually to act in care within every aspect of your being, which can be seen and broken up into your body, your mind, your spirit, and emotions. So living a healthy life is actually acting in care towards your body, towards your mind, towards your spirit, and towards your emotions. And living healthy isn't always seen in that way. And it's our job to carry in this new framework of what it really looks like to be healthy, to live a healthy life. And so I'm excited that we're going to be talking about this today. So a little about me, for those of you who maybe don't even know me, maybe you just came across me this week, or you've been following me on social media, but we've never actually met. I know some of you, I'm seeing some of you who are like that, who I just know on social media, but my name is Bridget, and I'm originally from Ontario, Canada. Always representing, being Canadian, I love it. But I'm currently living in Texas, which is where my husband was born and raised. We lived most of our married life in California, but currently are living in Texas. And at the moment, we've got cows as neighbors, which honestly is ideal. I didn't know that I wanted neighbors to be cows, but I do, and I love it. We've also got donkeys that live nearby that sometimes keep us up at night. So still trying to figure out like the purpose of having a donkey, because they're quite loud. So I'm just wondering, yeah, what the purpose is of them, what they're doing out there, how they're helping. But I am loving the country life and living in Texas. It's amazing. So the last year of my life, I really felt this major pull to put my heart, my experience, my expertise, and my purpose into something that I could actually offer the world. And that is where Intercom Co. has been birthed out of, my company that was just launched last month. Crazy. It's been a month now. And my love and passion really for teaching holistic wellness is very deeply connected to my experience with grief. So for those of you who know me on social media or know me personally, or maybe don't know my story at all, for those of you who don't know and are new here, my husband and I lost our daughter Sage in 2017, and that is a huge part of our story. And she only was able to live for 8 hours after she was born and passed. And 2017 and onwards opened up some of the darkest days of my life, most painful experiences and years that I had to walk through. And I share that part of my story because it truly is why I am the woman that I am today. And it was really because of my complete unraveling in grief and loss and pain that I had this bittersweet opportunity to build a new foundation of who I wanted to be, what I wanted life to look like, what was important to me. And so I honestly always say this, but Sage was the greatest conduit of my liberation, of freeing me from the internal prisons that I was living in, because I lived so much of my life bound by fear. And I wasn't even really aware of it until things just started to unravel in the midst of trauma and pain and grief. And so she really opened my eyes to the world around me, to myself, to really discovering who I really was at my core. And because of her, I feel called to be the conduit of liberation for others. And so in the midst of my healing journey through grief, I decided to study both holistic nutrition as well as herbalism, which unlocked a whole new level of things and affirmed so much that I already felt deeply within me, and gave me all these new resources and tools that could help me on my journey of healing and rediscovery of myself and living a more fulfilling life. And it also affirmed and confirmed to me that my outer reality, how I'm experiencing my life, is simply a reflection of my internal world, which is my thoughts, my emotions, everything that is happening within me is reflected outwards. And so really the sole purpose of all my work and of Inner Calm is to help people unlock their most fulfilling life by creating that inner world of calm, by starting there as a foundation. And so we're going to dive into the foundations of unlocking your inner calm. And I say unlocking because you're not creating it, you're actually just stepping into it. It's something that's always been there. You were born with a stillness embedded in you. And that stillness, which is your inner calm, often gets buried. It gets buried by the hustle of life. It gets buried by traumas and life experiences and challenges, and even just our lack of understanding of ourselves, which is so important, but unfortunately gets lost in what we learn growing up. We don't learn how to use these faculties for our greater good. And so it can help us feel, or it can make us feel really stuck. And it can make us feel as though we can't access that stillness when we really can. So we're going to talk about that. And so laying the foundation to unlock this inner calm, number one, starts with understanding that your outer world really is a reflection of that inner world, what I was talking about a little bit ago. At the core of everything I teach is this foundation, at the core of what it really takes to step into the life that you're desiring to live, because you showing up here today tells me that you are desiring more in life. You're desiring to step into something new that maybe you feel is missing, and you have that desire within you, and that's why you're showing up today. So this is at the core of that step. And so you have to understand that your life isn't this accumulation of outside circumstances, but it's actually an accumulation of your inner experience of those outside circumstances. And so let's give a little example, a little picture of that. Say two people wearing the same shoes, same outfit, go for a walk down the same path at the same time of day in the same weather for the same amount of time. Everything is the same, but it's two different people. Those two people are going to come back from that walk with a different narrative of how that experience was, right? And so that just tells us that they're not experiencing the outside world, they're experiencing their inside world within that experience. And so it's shown that in two people doing the exact same thing, they're going to experience it differently, because it's actually what's within them that is allowing them to experience things. And so what this gives us the understanding of is the value and the importance to always look within ourselves and to recognize that we actually hold a really special power within ourselves to live the life that we're desiring to live. Because when you create an inner calm, you create an outer calm. When you create and cultivate inner abundance, you experience outer abundance. When you cultivate an inner purpose, your outer purpose unfolds, right? So it's empowering because you're like, oh, I actually have a little bit more control than I thought I did. And it's all within me and how I experience life. So instead of changing everything outside of you to experience something new, you can just seek change within and then experience it in a new way. And that doesn't mean that outwards change is bad or not necessary, because often it comes with the inner change, but it's just about that reflection to go inwards instead of always having that outer focus. And there's just so much freedom when it comes to taking responsibility of your life without any attached emotions of shame or guilt. For example, if you get triggered by someone, hands up if you get triggered, because I know I do. Yes. But if you get triggered by someone, no matter whether what they did is wrong or not, that's besides the point. We don't have to validate anything about their emotions, but when you are getting triggered, it's actually something within you that got triggered. So triggers, often they're looked at very negatively of, oh gosh, I'm going to get triggered, or people are tiptoeing around because they don't want to get triggered. But what the beautiful thing about triggers is that they're actually just indicating us where we're not yet free within ourselves. So when we're able to look at them like that and go, I wonder why I just got triggered. What's going on within me? It gives us that power to take back what is ours. And our body is actually this beautiful, amazing messenger to us, helping us at every moment, trying to get us back to that center point, trying to get us back to our most fulfilling space by letting us know. And the only way that it can let us know, the only way our body is communicating with us is through emotions, through feelings, through triggers. So next time you get triggered, which we know it's coming, I want you to think about, you know what, this is for me. And again, that's not validating someone else's actions. They can absolutely still be in the wrong, but it helps you to take the focus off of the outside circumstance, out of the outside person's life and experience and projections, and back to yourself and say, hey, where am I not yet free? What is this triggering within me that I can step into more of my power by overcoming this? And it becomes this beautiful indicator where, hey, I need to just look at this a little bit differently and change the course of my life. And it's freeing and liberating and helps you to cultivate that stillness that you need within you in order to step into the life you're desiring. And so it's that reminder that that state of calm, that state of stillness is already yours for the taking, and it can be found within you. And it's that internal power that will shift your entire experience. And so that leads us into number 2, the second foundation of unlocking your inner calm, which is awakening to your awareness. So most people live their life unconsciously, unaware of themselves, unaware of just the deeper truth of what's really happening around them. And living in awareness, living in a state of awareness is just you stepping into your most authentic self, who you were truly created to be, is that calm, still presence that's just observing everything around you. That's who you truly are. And, in life, we like to label things, we like to have words for things. And even for this, your awareness, your spirit, your soul, your true self, those are different ways that you can label that. And so whatever aligns with you, whatever helps you to connect with the message of what I'm truly saying, you can attach to that. But what I'm talking about is that stillness that's behind everything. That is the most authentic version of you. When you take away your thoughts, when you take away your emotions, when you take away everything else, that is you. That's still awareness, that presence. And one way that you can access that is through practicing presence, becoming fully and completely present and in the moment. I'm going to take a sip of tea. My throat's given out. How nice is this mug, by the way? Anna Wilder gifted it to me. And I don't want to spill my tea, but if you look here, that's the artist's name who made this. And their name is Sage, which is super special. Okay. I'm drinking lemon balm tea for anyone who wants to know. Okay, so accessing that awareness takes becoming fully present. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can think, yeah, I've been in the moment, I've been present, but oftentimes we only access that for just a little moment. And in that moment, we experience bliss and connection, and then we're back into thinking. And so what presence, like true presence, really takes is not being in thought, not being in your analytical mind, not being in any form of judgment. So even when it comes to practicing presence in nature, because that's my favorite way to practice presence, you could think you're fully being present, but you're sitting out there and going, wow, like me, I'm looking at a tree right now. It's so gorgeous and beautiful. I'm still choosing to use my analytical mind and label it and judge it in a positive way, but it's not helping me to find that stillness. Mm-hmm. And it takes practice. And that's why meditation, if you, maybe you're already into meditation and have used it as a tool, but meditation is such an amazing tool to practice presence, because we live in a day and age where there's so much hustle and bustle. There's so much, social media. We scroll, getting all these hits, and it's so hard to come back to that stillness. But when you are in that presence, when you're able to just sit and try it for 2 minutes a day, then 5 minutes a day, then 10 minutes a day, and then it helps you to find that stillness more often. And that's when you access that awareness that is behind everything, which is the essence of who you really are. And if you're someone that struggles with heavy emotions or negative thoughts that come up often, I know I struggle with those things, but this is your reminder that you are not your thoughts or emotions. And sometimes that can be like, wait, what does that mean? Because it feels like I am those things. But what I'm meaning by that is that you are that stillness, that awareness that is behind those things, that is experiencing them. And when you can continue to believe that and understand that, it helps you to not attach to those things. Because when we attach to our negative thoughts and our difficult emotions, it sends us into a bigger spiral with them, or it attaches even more emotions, particularly shame, guilt, or even like anger with yourself. And so when you recognize that, you know what, I don't have to identify as these are just part of my human experience, because we all experience emotions and negative thoughts, even if we say we don't, then you can detach, sit back into your awareness, and just allow yourself to go through it and trust that it's going to pass. I'm going to find my way back, but I'm not going to cling to these and continue to spiral down. So yeah, when you recognize that and you tap into the purest version of who you are and just allow yourself to witness those, it gives you freedom. And I want to do a little side tangent on emotions a little bit more, because this is super important for you to understand. And again, the years that we are going through globally and in society and in our personal lives, there's a lot of emotions. And I even want to remind you in this moment, if you're like, man, I just can't get out of this funk, you are feeling what's happening globally. So just remind yourself of that and give yourself grace. Like the energy, everything is made of energy, and the emotions that we emit carry energy and frequency with them. And so when the whole world is struggling, there's so much loss, so much pain, so much isolation, so much loneliness, depression. We're dealing with a mental health crisis. Like we can all feel that collectively, whether it's personal to us or not. So I just want to say that to give you the reminder, if you're like, gosh, I just don't know what's wrong with me. You are just feeling the collective, because we are all connected. And just give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, and remind yourself that, to step back, detach, and step into that stillness. And so to go more on emotions, emotions are really a part of this experience of life. And I really want you to know that emotions are not a bad thing to experience. I know for me, I grew up, I guess I would be classified as emotional. which I do the air quotes because we're all emotional beings, but just we operate in that a little bit differently. And the thing with that is there's some people who exert more emotions. And for that person, it's really finding that healthy balance of how to release those and then operate in a bit of a healthier cycle with your emotions. But then there's also the people who are, oh, I'm not emotional, I don't cry. Those are the people who are suppressing their emotions and have done it so often that they truly believe that they don't have them. But what's happening is the emotions are getting stored within their body. And we don't want that to happen, because when emotions, which are energy, are stored in our body, that can be the accumulation of symptoms, of just things throwing off our system that we just don't want to deal with. So you have to find that healthy balance. The person who doesn't experience emotions needs to learn how to experience and release, and the person who's experiencing too much in a dysfunctional way needs to learn proper techniques to release and then recoup. Okay, so every emotion that comes up is valid because it's present. So there's no such thing as bad emotions. I know it can be very easy to believe that there is, because our society tells us there's ones that are bad or good, or just the world likes to stop us from crying if we're crying in public. But there really is no such thing as a bad emotion, because not acknowledging an emotion doesn't eliminate it at all. It just suppresses it deeper into the body. And the most important thing is actually just validating your emotions and then taking responsibility for your emotions, because we're all carrying our own experience of life and our own emotions that come with it. And those are just our emotions. They're not anyone else's. So we need to take responsibility for those, not along the side of shame and guilt. So you got to detach from any added emotions, but just take responsibility. Okay, I'm having this experience, neutral. Okay, and then remind yourself there's no such thing as a bad, no such thing as a wrong emotion, but to recognize that there are emotions that elevate us and there are emotions that drain us. Like I said earlier, when we emit emotions on like a cellular level, we're emitting energy. And Dr. David Hawkins was one of the first kinesiologists. I don't believe he was the first, but one of the first to actually start studying the measurement of emotions within the human experience on an energetic level. And he began to see that the frequencies that were emitted were either elevating us or lowering us. So when we're dragged down, again, we use the sayings all the time of like, I'm drained, I have no energy. Those are actually real things that we're saying, that we can get drained of our energy, and we need our energy to live the life that we desire to live. So when it comes to emotions, again, nothing is wrong, nothing is bad, but certain emotions do drain us of that important vital energy that we have within ourselves. And so when we can understand that, the most important element is learning that we just need to release them. And so different ways to release your emotions are crying. Let yourself cry if it comes, because what is happening in your tears, you are actually releasing stress hormones. So when your tears are coming out, don't put them back in and don't avoid them, because they actually need to get released. And if you feel like, gosh, I need to cry, but I can't, YouTube some sentimental stuff, watch a beautiful movie, trigger those tears, and just let them come, and remind yourself, yes, I am releasing something that was stored in my body. This is amazing. And another way, if maybe crying doesn't come as naturally to your body, is journaling. Using a pen to paper, getting all of your thoughts that come with that emotion out, and then getting rid of that paper, throwing it out, putting it in a paper shredder, burning it in your fireplace safely, whatever you need to do to actually just get it out of your body, release, and say, I release this emotion. It is no longer mine. Shift your energy, put on some music, I like to personally go jump in the shower if I need to like quickly shift my energy. If I feel an emotion, I release it and then I go shower because it, to me, I use it as a representation of cleansing, of saying I was holding on to something that I'm no longer choosing to hold on to. I feel the water going down my body into the drain and I walk out new. And so there's ways that we can use like our everyday things as tools to release, to cleanse, to renew. And so yeah, that is something that I just really wanted to make sure you understand with emotions, because again, it's like we can be in society, we can be really shamed for becoming emotional, or there's judgments on what emotions are good and what emotions are not good. And so I just want to make sure that you all understand that and the importance of releasing, detaching, and letting go of any dualism of good versus bad, even with everything. I'm just not a fan of dualism because there's always a balance. So, awakening to your awareness. Becoming aware is really like waking up to this new world of possibilities around you. And something I love that Deepak Chopra once said is that new vision comes from the awareness of who you are. So we can get so caught up in the limits of what we're seeing that we can miss out on everything else that is surrounding us. And I love this example. I was recently watching something on the Disney Channel. It just came out with Will Smith. I don't know if you've watched it. I actually forget what it's called. Welcome to Earth or something. But anyways, he is with a blind man and they're going into a volcano. And the man he's with, who has lost his sight, is experiencing the volcano in a different way from Will, because Will has vision to see it, but also in the same level of experience. The man is using his other senses. He's actually able to hear things that Will himself can't even hear because he's tapped into a new one of his senses because he's lost one. So oftentimes people who have lost their vision have the most insane hearing to where they can actually feel the vibration of noise, and it helps guide them through life. But us all have vision here, and we don't use that sense as much because we're depending on the one we use the most. But when you recognize, oh, I'm a human just like him, I actually have access to experience life in this new way. I'm just not aware of it. So instead of getting caught up in just what I'm experiencing and the limits that I've used for so long, I can open up this new vision and become awake and aware to so much more in life. And I just think that's such a beautiful example of that. Like, imagine feeling sound. I've never felt sound unless it was, no, I haven't felt sound. I was trying to think of something. All right. Number 3, we're going to start. I don't think we're going to finish this one before the break. Oh, maybe we will. But number 3 is overcoming a limiting past. And so this ties into what I was just saying with experiencing the new, tapping into something you haven't experienced before. Overcoming a limiting past is going to be a big foundation in unlocking your inner calm. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that they're actually living in a past present loop, just on loop, past, present, past, present. And it's the most common way to live in society. And therefore, we kind of all think that's normal. That's what life is because everyone's doing it. But I'm going to explain why this is a massive block for you to step into your most fulfilling life. Because every single day presents us with a blank page, just like what I was talking about with the new year. Today is a new day. Today is a fresh slate. I'm sure you've heard that before. And when someone says that, it usually feels good. You're like, yes, it is. I can start fresh. It feels freeing and exciting, and you connect with it, right? Yes. And so the reason we're connecting with that so much and it makes us feel good is because that's how we are supposed to experience life. Every day is new, and we're supposed to step into it in that way. That's why it excites us. And so when we can actually step into things in this way, it creates those new possibilities and clean, exciting slates. But what do we often do? Instead of actually allowing it to be new, we drag our past into our day. And how do we do that? We project the things that we've already experienced into our decision making, into our conversations, into our thoughts. If we experience something in one way, it's true to us and we believe it because we've experienced it. So then when we step into something new, we're projecting that into the new, and it creates that loop, that past present loop. And so we're bringing the known into the unknown. The only thing that is known to us is what we've experienced before. And so we're bringing that into the unknown, which the unknown is what carries all possibilities. And so it needs to be stepped into as new. So if you're unhappy and desiring more from life, which I believe you are all desiring more and wanting to step into your fullest expression of life, then you can't actually get there if you're continuing to live in that loop. So how do you practice that then? Well, for me, my favorite way to practice is using the weather as a tool. So I used to say, like I actually used to say that wind was my least favorite element. Like I would always say that because I guess I experienced a real windy day one day. It made my hair knotty and it just messed up my day. So then wind was my least favorite. So every time it was windy, I would go outside and be like, oh, it's so annoying. Gotta put up my hair now or tuck it into my, I'd enter in that past. I'd use what I've known, my past experience, and make it my new experience. But last year, when I was going through just the most amazing, life-changing year where everything was just changing for me and I was stepping into my inner calm, I stepped outside one day. It was crazy windy. We were at the time at my in-laws' place on the lake, and I stepped outside. It was crazy windy. And I was like, I'm just going to experience this. I'm not going to attach to anything I've experienced before. And so I stepped outside and I just like felt the wind on my skin, and I opened my eyes and I could see across the lake on the property that was across from us, there were about 5 deer just walking across. And I started getting so emotional because I started to think of the elements of earth, the beautiful gifts and resources that the earth gives us with oxygen, with everything we need. And that this wind was just like gusting through the trees and the grass. And it was those beautiful, pure little precious deers. It was touching their little spirits. And then it was coming and hitting me. And I was like, and I felt like I was just gifted with everything that it touched. And I just started to cry. And then I was like, I love the wind. The wind is my favorite element. So it was just this shift, this option that I had to enter in without carrying my past experience, with choosing to experience all possibilities, the new, the unknown that I have not experienced before. And it changed me. It became my favorite element. And so use weather as a practice for that, because Lord knows we all complain about weather. It's like a hobby of everyone's, and it's time that we start changing the narrative of that. Even if someone else complains to you, be like, what? I love the rain. This is amazing. It feels so refreshing. It smells so amazing. And use your senses. I remember Ryan and I once, we were on a walk. This is when we lived in Laguna Beach. We were on a walk one evening and we had just started our walk. And we were excited. We loved walking this one neighborhood. And then we looked up and the clouds just came in and we were like, oh no, our walk is going to have to like end, because it started raining, like pouring immediately. And then I stopped us because I had remembered something I had heard about using your senses to experience things in a new way. And I was like, wait, stop, close your eyes. What do you smell? What do you feel? What's on your skin? Just using different senses. What do you hear? And it made us have the most magical walk ever, right, Ryan? Yes. And the amazing thing about using all your senses as well is it actually creates, so we form memories within our neurons and neurotransmitters within our brain. Memories are actually formed through our senses. So when we're actually experiencing things, if we want to capture this memory in our body and in our mind, use your senses. Because often we'll walk, say we're seeing the Grand Canyon, we'll walk up, we'll be like, cool, and leave. We just used our eyes. But if you walked up and you felt the ground beneath your shoes and you felt the wind on your skin and closed your eyes and tried to listen for the birds and use all of your senses, you're more likely to remember that moment and have it wired into your brain as a positive experience. So that's something that's really cool about using your senses, and the power of changing the narrative and even using your language and your words in a new way of how you're experiencing things. Your word is your wand. You are creating and manifesting your life through what you say, think, believe, and feel. And manifestation, maybe you know a little bit about it, maybe you don't, but all it really is, it kind of sounds like this fancy thing, but every day in our life, we are manifesting what is ahead of us, in front of us. And the example of my wind experience is the perfect example of what I manifested a new experience. So what you are thinking, what you are bringing into your experience, what you believe at your core and what you feel is bringing out what you're experiencing and manifesting in life. And so when you speak it out and believe it and feel it, it's going to happen. So if I believe that I love the wind and that it's going to bring me a magical experience, then I'm going to manifest that. Yeah. And that's the power that we have within our internal world. Right. So we're going to take a little pause break so that we can all get some water, run to the bathroom, and we're going to come back here in 10 minutes. I'm going to look through, see if there was any questions as well, and I'll touch on those. So I will see you in 10 minutes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I know some people just joined. We're just coming back from our little break. Did everyone get to go pee? I did. Ooh, I'm really excited what we're going to talk about next. I'm just going to make sure everyone's back. And guys, I'm still learning Zoom. This is my first time hosting a Zoom meeting. And so the music wasn't working for the break. I was going to bring the vibes up with some music, but next time. Okay. Hello. Everyone, let me know when you're ready. When you're back from your break. I'm glad everyone's connecting. I was just reading through the chats. I think it's really special too, doing this with people who are intentionally doing the same work. There's just so much power in joining a collective force, being able to feed off each other's excitement and energy. Like you can just feel it when people are excited about something and it doesn't feel so daunting and lonely. and like it's you against the world, because it's not you, it's you with the world. And this is just a reminder that we're all chasing the same thing. We're all excited about this, about learning and growing and stepping into our fullest potential. So I see a lot of cameras are still up, so I'm just making sure that everyone's back before I dive in to the fourth foundation. By the way, actually, before I dive in, just so that I can give people time, just in case, if your camera's off but you are here, can you type in the chat that you're ready? But before I go into anything, I just wanted to answer the question about validating other people's emotions, which absolutely, I think the most impactful thing we can do within our relationships is validate one another. And I'm going to go into a little touch on that in a little bit. But when we can recognize that we're all having a different experience and believe other people's experiences, if someone tells you they feel something, it's because they feel something. So if we're able to help validate that for others, not because we feel it or see it, but simply because we want them to know it's okay to feel what they feel and experience, that is the greatest gift we can give to friends, to family, to people, and everything. When to not validate and take a different approach. I mean, I would really say that that's up to you to decide when it comes to if you feel that it's taking vital energy that you need to restore within yourself. Because again, we have to remember that our inner world is the most important thing to us to cultivate. So self-care, self-love, that's not selfish. That is extremely important for us to cultivate in order to enter in with others. So it's up to you to really decipher in a situation if someone is seeking validation, but it feels manipulative or like they're trying to steal some of that vital energy that you carry. It's okay to not validate and to go into self-care mode and choose yourself. Okay, I think everyone's pretty much back. So we are going to talk about the next, ooh, did I just sound Canadian? Sometimes my Canadian friends laugh at me because they say I sound American, but then my American friends tell me I sound Canadian. All right, the fourth foundation to unlocking your inner calm, I love this one so much, is your unique design. Your unique design. Because there is no such thing as one size fits all. Not only are our life experiences, environments, and everything that is surrounding us so different, but our actual internal landscape and how we were created to experience life is completely different. So when we continue to measure ourselves up to everyone else around us, we will always fall short and we will always feel like something is missing, because people's lives, other people, are not your measuring stick. And that, unfortunately, is pretty hard to overcome in this day and age with social media. I know a lot of people struggle with comparison, with looking at others, and then immediately reflecting back at themselves. But what I want this fourth foundation to really leave you with is that reminder of, not only is that not helpful, but it's actually ridiculous when you think about it, when you think about how unique and different we all are, that we actually cannot use each other as measuring sticks to our own life, because we are living and experiencing complete different things. And when you, oh, my voice, one second. I'm getting too excited, guys. So let's get this thing working. When you are operating out of comparison and looking at other people's lives as a measuring stick, you are living outside of yourself. Remember, the key is cultivating that inner world, living so in alignment, body, mind, spirit, emotions, accessing that, caring for all of those things. And when you are living in comparison, looking around at everyone, trying to measure up, trying to compare, trying to find understanding, you are actually living outside of yourself. And so uncovering who you are and giving yourself that radical, unconditional love will change your life, because everything outside of us becomes conditional. We will be loved if we blank. We won't be loved if we blank. We will look good if we blank. We won't be good, look good if we, right? Everything is so conditional in the society we live in. And so how do you learn more about yourself? How do you uncover who you really are and not operate outside of yourself? Get back to operating within yourself. And this really comes back to full circle, stepping back into your awareness, that stillness within you, and actively practicing being in that space. No distractions, no expectations, but having it as a practice in your daily life. You know, when you have a new friend or just create a new relationship and you finally get to the point where you can sit in silence with each other and it's just the best company, and it's like, yes, we're really friends now. Well, treat yourself in that same way. When you can come to a place where you can sit in silence and just be in your own company and leave feeling nourished and fulfilled, that's such a beautiful space of coming back to yourself. And you know, it's okay if it's uncomfortable at first, because we are so used to being distracted and just pulled every which way that sitting in silence can at first be a little bit uncomfortable and can bring up tough emotions, and that's okay. Like I was saying before, when it comes to practicing presence, just start small, work your way up. And the more that you cultivate entering in that loving way, again, think of yourself as that friend that you're finally at that level. You can sit in silence with one another and it's amazing and you love it. Think of that with yourself, because we truly do have this purpose in life to unconditionally love ourselves. It's like often we put that on someone else of, I can't wait until I have a relationship where I'm unconditionally loved. No, it's actually part of our purpose in our design to give that to ourselves, unconditional love. We are the ones who are experiencing our life day in, day out. And so that is just such a priceless thing to cultivate. And to remember, yeah, that it can take time, and time is not against you. So allow yourself to take that time to get to that space with yourself. And the more you sit in that stillness, the more you will slowly come back to who you really are, that soft, gentle, calm awareness. Another way to continue to discover more about yourself is through things like personality tests, neurology charts, things like Enneagram, Myers-Briggs. If you've heard of any of these archetype tests, astrology, doshas through Ayurvedic medicine, the two that I personally use within what I do when I work with people to guide them into really unapologetically being themselves and stepping into their power is life path numbers in the human design chart. And you know, some people have weird feelings coming up when they think of these things because they're like, I don't want to get put in a box. But this is the thing, these things cannot put you into a box. Only you have the power to do that. And so when it comes to the importance of even learning more about yourself, what things like this can do, because you have the power to reject anything you don't align with. Absolutely, you hold that power, so you can activate that whenever you choose to. But what these things do is they have the ability to actually make you feel seen. I know for me, I love I've done every single thing I listed. I've done it. I know it. And it has brought me so much peace within myself, so much freedom when I've felt misunderstood or unseen. And so these have the ability to make you feel seen for who you truly are. Putting words to experiences can be so validating in your life because it gives you permission to be you. You know, when you have an experience and no one else around you has had that experience and you talk to someone and they just don't relate, so then you feel like something's wrong with me. But no, anything you experience is real and valid, period. No one else on this earth has had to have that experience to validate that. You having it and experiencing it and feeling it makes it valid because it is a part of your experience. And so, yeah, using tools to help you to validate and feel seen and all of these things are actually really helpful tools in this journey of rediscovering yourself, validating your own experience and understanding that it's so unique to you. Because remember, by measuring ourselves against someone else usually leaves us feeling unseen, alone, or maybe even the question of, oh gosh, am I crazy? Like, it makes you feel like, wow, this emotion I'm having isn't good. This response I'm having, I'm crazy, right? I know I've felt that way personally. And that's also why judgment to me is just the most bizarre thing that we take a part of. And at the end of the day, we're like just trying to measure up each other to one another, and we're putting ourselves in the exact same class and box and frame, and it doesn't make sense. None of us fit in each other's boxes. And so judgment, it's just bizarre, and it's something that people relate with each other with, judging one another. And so I even challenge you, something that excuse me, I'm just getting way too excited. My throat is like, girl, we haven't talked this much in like 2 years. What are you doing? But yeah, when it comes to your own judgments, we all carry judgments for one another, and being able to recognize that, not having shame within yourself, but choosing to be aware of, ooh, am I judging this person just because it's different than me? I don't understand them, whatever it is. Remembering that we all have these unique experiences and we just cannot be measured up to one another. So letting that go, stopping yourself, rejecting that thought. And something, oh, I loved this so much. I don't know if you know of Jay Shetty, but if you don't, you should look him up. He's got an amazing podcast and work. But he was in an interview recently, and I actually posted this on my social media, but he was asked, what is something that he no longer values that a lot of people value? And he said, I no longer value being understood. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that is such a powerful way to approach that, because I know for myself, I spent years valuing being understood above everything else. And I kept coming against feeling misunderstood. And I kept feeling like no one understands me. No one will ever understand me. My experience isn't valid, and it's painful. And so when you start to change that narrative and say, actually, I don't even value being understood anymore. If I am understood, that is a gift, such a treasure to be understood. But I no longer value that in relationships because I understand that we really can't understand one another completely, because only you know what it's like to experience life as you. Only you know what you've walked through, the emotions that have come up, the thoughts you carried, the pains that no one else sees, the tears behind closed doors. No one has experienced that. Only you have. And even that, knowing that and recognizing the importance of your relationship with yourself, that you can be the one to be there, that you can be the one to validate, that you can be the one that understands to yourself in an unconditional way, is so valuable and such a big part of unlocking your purpose, unlocking your most fulfilling life, and being able to step out as who you truly are. You know, because so many of us are operating outside of ourselves, like I was saying, and when you're measuring yourself up to everyone, when you're attaching to being understood, attaching to identities that are outside of yourself, you are operating on the outside. And when you do that, when people are stuck outside of themselves, you begin to feel sick, you begin to feel stressed, you begin to feel depressed, because it's exhausting body, mind, spirit, and emotions, because you're not at home within yourself. They're not merging the experience of body, mind, spirit, and emotions to bring this collective health to their life experience. So what's the number one reason people can't or don't come home to themselves? It's because it's not a safe space to come home to. There's so much self-criticism, cutting yourself down, believing the lies that other people told you, shaming yourself for being who you are because you feel misunderstood or you're using the wrong measuring sticks. And it can become a hostile environment within us to where we can't come home. It's not safe. It doesn't feel safe yet. And so we stay outside of ourselves. And so that's where practices of radical self-love and unconditional love come in, because you have to kill the idea of you to step into who you truly are. And what I mean by that is the idea of you is all the labels you've attached yourself to, all the identities that you've been attached to because you've been given them by maybe other people or by yourself, and you just cling to that. And so you're continuously trying to live up to it. Well, that idea of you is not you. So if you're operating outside of yourself in that, you stay outside of yourself and you're not stepping into who you truly are, which is that stillness, that spirit, that soul. So I actually recently heard this, and oh my goodness, I thought it was such a great reflection, or even just way to identify how you're stuck in the idea of you, ways to see where you're operating outside of yourself. And that is to ask yourself this question: what are the most exhausting parts of your personality that you feel like you have to keep up with? That's a big question. Is it making sure everyone around you is happy? Is it being the person that has no issues? They're always so chill to be around, and you got to keep up with that. You can't show any emotion. You can't show that you're struggling. Is it that you have to be the strong person? Is it exhausting because you have to bring all the energy to the room and you feel like everyone depends on you? What is the most exhausting part of your personality that you feel like you have to keep up with? Because those are the identities that are keeping you stuck outside of yourself. They're keeping you stuck in that idea of you that isn't really you. You're not operating as your truest self, and therefore you can't step into your truest self, which is where that inner power lies, where you can unapologetically be you and not care what other people say or think. Because again, at the end of the day, when you recognize that judgment is the most silly thing we do, then you're able to let go of that, even what others think of you. I'm still working on that. That's a lifelong journey, because it's difficult, but when you keep reminding yourself of that, you can step back in to yourself and remind yourself of that and move forward. And then when it comes again, you can remind yourself again. The continual reminders are important. That's why I always have a journal. My reminders, if I am just having a day, I'm struggling, so much doubt, so much insecurity and pain and lack, I go back to my journal, I reread all my entries, where I've spoken life into myself, where I've reminded myself of things, where I've written down quotes from books that spoke to me. It's like my life source. It's where my soul speaks to me. And so that is the power of having something like that for reminders. So the more and more you really step into your awareness and go within and truly meet yourself, the more you're able to build that foundation of who you are. And it can feel scary to leave the idea of you because that's what you're typically attached to and what feels safe, because there's no risk in not knowing who you really are. So it's easy to stay there. But with that being said, let me remind you that at your core, every single person in here, at your core, you are stillness. You are the inner calm that you're looking for by signing up. You're stable, you're immovable, you're strong. You are an embodiment of pure love. All of us are, even if we don't feel it sometimes. When we step back into ourselves, that is what we're stepping back into. So you don't need to create this. This isn't something you need to create and work towards. It is you. And so you just need to slowly remind yourself, believe it, feel it, and let go of everything else that no longer aligns with that truth of who you are. And that's that effortless flow of tapping back into yourself. It's not about striving and creating and I need to do this, I need to work on this. No, not at all. It's about continuing to remind yourself until you believe it, falling back into that and letting go, reminding yourself. If the thought comes up of self-doubt or I'm not good enough, I reject that. That's not my thought. Something else you can do with your thoughts is when they come up, literally just be like, whose thought is that? That's not mine. Detach. Literally act as if someone else just said that. Okay. Number 5, the 5th foundation that we're talking about is clearing the way for clarity and calm. So I'm going to dive into a little bit of nutrition stuff today in this foundation because it's a really powerful tool. So clearing the way for clarity and calm. We have so many beautiful resources surrounding us to help us to access everything that I'm talking about. And food and herbs are one of those resources. And it's something that I have continued to learn more about and am more and more certain in its ability to bring us to these states much more effortlessly to help us on that journey. So before we dive into some specifics, where I'll tell you certain things you can do and certain foods to focus on, I wanted to first share the inner calm approach to food, because food and nourishment are a necessity for survival, which means that our relationship to food has to be a top priority. You know, there's a lot of struggle with the relationship with food, and it's understandable because the diet culture has taken over the narrative of food for most people, and it is founded in fear. So it is founded in the model of fear towards food, and that's how most people's relationship is. And so we're going to change that by talking about the model that is the inner calm approach, which is one of freedom and balance, the no fear and no resistance method of nourishment, because food is not good or bad. So we need to step back from that narrative, which brings fear when it comes to food. And again, that diet culture narrative says that food is either good or bad. And if you eat the bad, you're not going to live up to society's beauty standard and you might die. That's pretty much what they're saying. And it's just does not create health in a relationship. This creates an awful narrative within our relationship with food. So we have to take a step back, again, eliminate that dualism. There's no good versus bad. Got to eliminate that completely and then enter back into it as a beautiful partnership. That's how I like to approach food. It's this beautiful partnership to my life. Food resources us with life. Every single thing in our body, our cells, our organs, everything in our body is made up of what food actually provides us, which is pretty incredible. And so if we don't give ourselves room to find balance, we will always find ourselves falling into shame, guilt, or fear when it comes to what we eat. And those emotions, again, like I was talking about earlier, drag our energy levels down so drastically that that can even push us into a chronic state of stress. And so what's so wild, and what I see a lot of the times with people who are trying to become healthy, is they end up eating all the clean, healthy foods, but not seeing any changes within their body because they're actually in a chronic state of stress. And so there's just no movement or effortlessness or fluidity happening for the body to actually change. So we have to reframe the way we think while we're eating. So that comes back to your awareness, bringing in that awareness. What am I thinking in this moment? Just being open to observe yourself and to be able to reject or accept those thoughts. And so instead of grabbing something, for example, when you want to eat something that you want to enjoy, but it has no nutrients whatsoever, instead of going into eating that, being like, oh my gosh, I know this is terrible for me and I'm going to feel terrible after, but oh well, and eat it. No, not at all. You need to enter into something like that and say, you know what? I'm grateful that this is going to produce some happy hormones for me, and I'm going to feel amazing after because I'm in control of the way I'm experiencing life and experiencing this item of food, be it candy, pizza, burgers, whatever it is you want to enjoy. When you can approach it without the resisting emotions and without the stress, because when you are consuming something and you are under stress, and so by me thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible for me, but I'm eating it anyways, my thoughts are producing a stress response. And that turns off my digestive system. And therefore, I'm not even properly digesting. So therefore, I am going to feel terrible. And I might even get a headache or some kind of symptom to come along with it because I'm adding resistance to it. But if you're choosing to enter in and reframe the way you're thinking while you're eating, just change the narrative. Again, happy hormones, be excited. And then you can get into the mode of adding new things that benefit clarity and calm little by little. We don't want to focus on lack and subtracting and getting rid of everything because, again, it often produces stress. So slowly but surely, your habits will change because you'll become more and more in alignment with your body, mind, spirit, and emotions. And the more that you understand that this tea, the herb that I'm drinking right now, is actually calming my nervous system, when you're thinking and reminding yourself of that when you're drinking it, you're creating a positive experience and your body is going to crave that. So again, the more you're adding things and reminding yourself that it's bringing you to that fulfilling place you want to be in, you'll fall into it more and more. It's not about forcing yourself into this new way of life. It's trusting that your body will guide you as you change your beliefs and your habits, because our bodies are for us and not against us. And we can often be taught that our bodies are against us, to fear disease, to fear symptoms, to fear. But that's not the case. Your body is a beautiful organism that is for your higher good, and symptoms are not something to be fearful of. Symptoms are, again, your body's way of communicating to you. It can't, your shoulder's not going to all of a sudden sprout a mouth and start talking and be like, girl, chill on the Doritos. It can't. So it's going to produce a symptom to say, hey, doesn't feel so good, something's a little bit off, for you to shift. And that doesn't even always mean shifting your eating. Sometimes it can mean shifting your thought process while you're eating. Sometimes it can mean releasing some emotions that you're like, ooh, yeah, I should probably release that. I should probably take a shower or a warm bath and just let myself relax. Our body is always communicating with us and it is for us. So we don't need to fear symptoms. We don't need to be fearful of getting a disease or anything. We can remind ourselves that we're powerful in our experience and in our ability to give our body what it needs and trust that it is going to be asking for it and guiding us into that space. So it's just a whole new approach, to food and what it can actually provide. And it's a process. Again, time is not against you. Time is all good. Take as much time as you want. It's a process. So I want to go into some practical tips of promoting that calm state within your body as your body. Number one is going to be loving your gut and digestion. So our gut, our digestive tract, our intestines is actually directly connected to our brain, and it's connected by the vagal nerve. So when our gut is happy, it affects our brain. And when our brain is happy, it affects our gut, vice versa. They're communicating at all times. And so the importance of loving your gut and loving your digestion, making sure that you're listening to the cues and the communication that your body is giving you. If maybe there's some things that are off, to pay attention to that, because it affects directly your mental and emotional health and experience of life. So some ways that you can practically love your gut and your digestion and be kind to it and care for it, which is what it means to become healthy, is number one is be mindful while you're eating. Be present. Don't be distracted. Remember, if you're stressed while you're consuming something, your digestive tract is not functioning. Because in survival, you don't need to be digesting anything. So your body turns it off because you're stressed. So when you're able to be mindful, present with your food, even create if you cook yourself or if you are going out to eat, when it's visually appealing, that's where our digestion starts, when we can see our food and look at it and want to eat it. So it's amazing to be intentional with the way it looks on a plate or where you're going and what you're doing while you're eating. You don't want to be watching a stressful movie or show while you're eating. So just be mindful as you're eating, because it's helping your digestive system. Again, your digestive tract is what's absorbing the goodness. So if it's not absorbing anything and not on par, then even if you are eating some amazing nutrient-dense foods, you're not gaining the benefit because you're not absorbing it. So it's important. Okay, another way to support your digestion and your gut is to not drink while you're eating, because we have these acids in our stomach that are helping to break down the food. And when we're drinking at the same time as eating, we're diluting that and therefore not having as strong of acids to break down what needs to get properly broken down. And so this is something that I personally changed in my life like 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And it was a game changer. This one little change was so helpful for me. So you want to you can take a sip, by the way, like don't just be so parched. You can take a sip, but just try to drink 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after, not be chugging a drink while you're eating, because that will really help. Another thing, if you were having digestive issues, having some gut pain, maybe bloating, again, if your gut is indicating to you that it needs a little bit of help, incorporate some aloe vera juice into your diet. So you want to look for organic the inner leaf aloe vera juice. And you can start with drinking 2 ounces a day, up to 4, whatever feels helpful. That's something that really helps me with my gut when I'm feeling off. I always have it in the fridge. The taste, I don't mind it. It just tastes like aloe vera, what you would think it would taste like. So aloe vera juice is very soothing to the gut. Another food item that's very soothing to the gut is bone broth. So even just incorporating that in your meals, if you're making a soup, opt for bone broth instead of just vegetable broth. It is obviously an animal product, so if you don't eat animal products, then you can just focus on a really amazing hearty organic vegetable broth. And then things like sauerkraut and kimchi, those all help the good bacteria in your gut to stay balanced and on par. And then just less processed and sugared foods, those produce the bad bacteria. Our gut is composed of a perfect balance of good and bad bacteria, and certain foods feed on different, or the bacteria feeds on different foods. So your bad bacteria feeds on sugars, processed foods, fried foods. So if you have more in your diet, the bad bacteria is overpowering the good. So it's out of balance. So you just want to find that good balance. Again, listen to your body. And then 2 other things that will support your gut is herbs. And you can do this in the form of tea, is peppermint and licorice root. Those are great herbs for your gut, to support your gut. Highly recommend start drinking tea if you don't already. It's such an easy way to add amazing benefits into your day. It also hydrates you if you're drinking herbal tea. And then it also is a mindfulness practice. Whenever I drink a tea, it just makes me stop, pause, and be present, because it's a moment. So some more tips when it comes to food and things that you can add to benefit a clear mind are adding sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, or sunflower seeds to your meal if it has carbs. And so you want to aim for a higher quality carb, which would be, brown rice, quinoa, stuff like that. So you want to aim for like a whole grain stuff along those lines of a higher quality carb. But what happens when you add sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, or sunflower seeds to your carbs is that these seeds contain an amino acid called tryptophan, which is the building block of serotonin, which serotonin, if you didn't already know, happy hormones. And so tryptophan is the building block. So it's entering into your body, and then it needs help getting to your brain. And the carbs are what actually give it direct access to your brain. So if they come into your body just with say another source of protein, an animal protein, because it's an amino acid, it can kind of get bombarded and lost and then end up going elsewhere, pushed into your muscles or something. So the carbs, those good carbs, are what helps it get to your brain, that's such an easy add to your diet. I personally love making like bowls for lunch with quinoa and vegetables, and I'll add a little feta or some fresh herbs, and then I always add seeds on top. Easy. Serotonin straight to the brain. Another thing is, and we all know this, higher consumption of vegetables. I know I didn't already need to tell you because you're all geniuses and you knew this. But a higher diet of vegetables is going to help with your mental health. There's been studies done that show that a higher consumption of vegetables can cut your risk by 62% for depression. And that's just by adding more vegetables. So try new ways to cook them, incorporate them. Plants are your friends. Another thing that really helps when it comes to your food is minimizing or limiting animal products. There's a compound within animal products called arachidonic acid, and this is actually something our body already produces, but it produces enough. Similar to cholesterol, is our body produces it. It's good to go. We don't need to add more, and if we have too much, if we have excess, it can throw things off balance. And so again, that doesn't mean you have to completely erase it. That just means maybe change things up, try to incorporate different things in your diet. I know for me, I've really limited animal products slowly over the last like 3 years. And I feel a lot better. And if you do choose to get animal products, I really encourage you to ensure that they're good quality. organic, grass-fed, wild. It's really important, just the industry, it can get kind of crazy when it comes to what they put into animal products. So just be mindful of that and remember that it's going to help your mental health, emotional health. And then another thing that is specific to depression, that people with depression often have higher levels of an enzyme called monoamine oxidase, which is basically an enzyme whose job is to break down excess monoamines. So monoamines are dopamine, serotonin, so happy hormones. So this enzyme's job is to break down excess serotonin, excess dopamine. So the problem with having too much higher levels of this enzyme is that they're working overtime. They're getting rid of all the happy hormones you have. And so when it comes to wanting to combat depression, it's not necessarily about just boosting and adding more happy hormones. It's about limiting that enzyme, helping to inhibit its working overtime. And luckily, as you know it, nature is insane. There are foods that specifically inhibit this enzyme from working overtime. And those are apples, berries, grapes, onions, green tea, and then some spices, which are cloves, oregano, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So all of these contain a phytonutrient, which within the plant that combats this enzyme from working overtime. I think that's fascinating. Then I want to just touch on some herbs. I love herbs. And like I said, I highly recommend getting involved with tea, drinking a tea a day, 2 teas a day, because herbs can really be beneficial, especially when it comes to accessing that calm. Okay, so some herbs, by the way, just to make note, if you are on any kind of medication, before you take herbs other than teas, just consult with your doctor, because there can be herb and medication interactions. And so you just want to make sure everything's good and it's not clashing or interacting in a negative sense. So always just make sure, okay? So I just want to talk about some calming herbs. So there's different classes of calming herbs, ones that are calming but still give you energy, ones that are more relaxing, and then ones that are more sedating to put you to sleep kind of thing. So I'm going to talk about some calming but not sedating, ones that still give you good energy. And some of those are, get ready for these names, guys. Milky oat seed. It's a good name. St. John's wort. Not sure who named that. Hopefully it wasn't St. John. But St. John's wort is one that can really be used to benefit depression. And so if you do struggle with that, again, if you're on medication, you definitely consult your doctor first, but that can be a really beneficial one for depression. Some other that are calming but not, not too sedating are lemon balm. That's what I'm drinking. Ashwagandha. And then 2 of my favorites, which are holy basil and then gotu kola. And that's spelled Gotu space Kola. I love gotu kola. It's actually a really spiritual herb. It's known that like monks use this when they're meditating and going off on a spiritual journey. They take this herb with them for when they meditate. So I think that's really cool. Okay, some other herbs that are more relaxing are motherwort. Again, don't know with all these wort names, but I didn't name them. Passion flower, and then kava, Kava. Kava is one that can be used for panic attacks. So if you deal with panic attacks, Kava is a really good one to have under your tool belt. It's not necessarily one to use daily, but it's one that you can use when those attacks come on. And then some more sedating, sleep type inducing herbs are valerian, and then California poppy. I see, can you send a list out? Yes, good idea. I actually should write that down because I'm gonna be, this is recording, by the way, so you're gonna all get a link once it's up on YouTube or wherever I choose to put it in the next few days. So in that email, I can send out the list of herbs, okay? Because yeah, I know this is a lot of information. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, which isn't an herb, but can be paired alongside really well, is tart cherry juice. Me and Ryan could drink jugs of tart cherry juice. We love it. It tastes so good. I know it could be sour to some people, but tart cherry juice, drink. Guys, what is happening? Did I just have a mini seizure? Tart cherry juice, if you drink it in the morning and evening, it can actually help your sleep cycle by promoting healthy levels of melatonin. So your body is producing melatonin, which helps you sleep, and tart cherry, you get the point. Okay, and then we are almost out of time. So I'm gonna hit this last point quickly and briefly, which is number 6 of the foundations of unlocking your inner calm. And that is that nothing is impossible. As we finish off the tail end of these foundations of unlocking your inner calm, this is such an important element for you to take on because it can be so easy to get stuck in what everyone in this world and society can call being a realist, which basically means they only operate in what they know, which is the past. And they only trust what they see, which is limited vision. And so someone living a realist life is living one that is in the past loop cycle. So I want to remind you that you can access that new vision, that new possibilities, the endless possibilities of life when you choose to change your perspective and enter in a new state. Because if you can visualize it, it's possible. We have an imagination for a reason. And if you haven't been told this, I want to be the one to tell you that we have an imagination so that we can step into these things. Because sometimes we don't actually see it in other people's lives, but we can feel it, we can imagine it. And that is a way to visualize that it is possible. And an example of that is not within our imagination is seeing someone else live a life that you desire. It's inspiring because you're like, oh my gosh, that's possible. Again, we use our vision because it's what comes easiest to us, what's natural. And so when we remind ourselves that if we can visualize it, if we can imagine it, that it's possible, and to pay attention to what is coming up in our imagination, to what we're constantly visualizing and feeling and imagining, listen to that nudge because it's specifically for you. What continues to come up, what you continue to dream about or feel pulled to, like that is for you. If you keep having this dream of living on land and having your own farm and having property for your kids to be on or your grandkids or whoever it is, follow that dream. It's possible. You're imagining it and you're envisioning it within your mind because it's possible and it is for you and you can step into that. Again, this is your experience of life, and our body, mind, spirit, emotions, they're all for us. So if it's coming up constantly, then it's for you. And so the biggest thing that really is just limiting us from this belief in possibilities is that projection of our past into our future. And often that comes with subconscious beliefs, which is a whole other topic I'm not going to be able to touch on today. And sometimes even protection mechanisms from trauma. And I want to touch on that sometimes Our projection of the past into our future is out of a protection mechanism from something we've experienced that is traumatic. And in moments that happens, instead of rejecting it and moving forward and entering into possibilities, I want you first, before you do that, to recognize that it's happening. And so thank your body. Say, hey, thank you for trying to protect me. Thank you, but I am safe. And then you can move forward, because it's important we remind our body, because our subconscious is storing all our experiences, traumas, everything. And it's really just trying to protect us as we move forward. And so instead of just neglecting that and moving forward, tell yourself, remind your body, I'm safe. Take that deep breath and say, thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm moving forward and we're stepping into all possibilities. And that's where the power of affirmation comes in, which I really encourage you to utilize. Affirm yourself, write out affirmations. YouTube has so many already done affirmations. Look it up, just put I am morning affirmations into YouTube, and it'll be like an hour-long affirmation that you can just play as you're getting ready for the day. And what those are doing is speaking to your subconscious and creating new beliefs about yourself, that you are capable, that you are strong, that you are in control of your experience and all of those things. So highly encourage doing that. Okay, before I can see the time, before I close, I do want to scan for questions because I noticed some people were asking some. Let's see. Life path, and human design. Yes, so Candace, you asked life path, human design chart, all that stuff. Everything I mentioned within that, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, life path, all of them can be done for free online. You might not get the extensive results, but you can get just a free brief overview of it if you Google any of those things, definitely. Oh wait, Anna, you answered that. All right. Okay, anyone have any questions as I'm wrapping up? Question, benefits or lack of benefits in fasting most days until the afternoon. Oh, unless bullet would be considered breakfast. Yes, okay, so fasting in the morning you're talking about, having a bullet coffee or any drink besides water is breaking the fast, which a bullet coffee is a great way to break the fast because it's helping the caffeine not to go directly to your bloodstream because it's coated with the fats that are in that. But yeah, and man, there's so many things I could talk about, guys. I think we might need to do another workshop. I'm like already excited though. Do we want to do another workshop? Because I know there are, oh yeah, St. John's wort interacts heavily with birth control. Yes, again, if you're going to take herbs, definitely make sure you chat with your doctor if you have any medications, and that does include birth control. Okay. As we're wrapping up, I have a little announcement that I want to make. You guys will be the first to know that later today, I'm actually launching a brand new program that is called 30 Days to Unlock Your Inner Calm. And I am very excited about this program, especially after finishing off this workshop. This workshop really was laid kind of like the framework of what is going to be this program. And it is going to be a 30-day program. Every day you're going to get new prompts, quick lessons, whether that be audio or video. And it's all going to be working with everything I've talked about, but in crazier depth. So even when it comes to, for example, learning more about yourself and the human design chart and all that stuff. In this course, in that section, so these 6 foundations are the framework of the course. You will be getting your a summary of your charts, a summary of your life path, everything. And then on top of all of these 30 days, which go into deeper depth within all of these and how to implement, how to tap into your intuition, how to listen to your body, how to know what foods to focus on specifically for you, or how to take your herbs, how to dose, how to all of these kind of things when it comes to like incorporating herbs into your life, and so much more, is going to be alongside group coaching. And so that's, to me, the most valuable part of the program will be the moments of group coaching together, because as a group, similar to this, we're going to come together, but during the group coaching, we'll be able to actually interact, get to know one another, but then also reflect on what you were learning during that week. So there's going to be signups the first 30 days. The first group of people doing the 30 days will start January 3rd. So I didn't want to do it the first so that we had a little bit of buffer time. So we're going to start the Monday. And so that will be that group. We'll do it together. And then there'll be another sign up again. It'll go like that. And each group will take this on together alongside me. And every week we will break it down. I will answer questions. We'll work through what people are struggling with. And the coaching element is what I'm most excited about, because we get to work alongside each other. And so within those 30 days, there will be 4 of those calls that will land on the Saturday of every week and be 90 minutes each of the coaching calls. But yeah, so this program, you'll be able to read more about that when I launch it later this afternoon. You can go to my website and find all the details and all the nitty-gritty stuff there, because I know we are running out of time right now here. But it is going to be on pre-sale until the 31st. So until the end of the year, the program will be 20% off pre-sale. But because you guys are my workshop crew, you're going to actually be getting an email later today with a coupon code that gives you an extra 20% off, because I already know that all of you are ready to do this type of work. And you even just showing up here today tells me that you're ready and you're excited to take on this next year. And so I just wanted to offer that to you, and that coupon code will just be valid until the end of this weekend, and you'll get those details in an email later. But it's something I'm very excited about, something that I think is going to be really special in 2022. So as we close, I want to close with another deep breath and an affirmation. And so we're going to do that together. Again, breathing through the nose, into the belly, and then out of the mouth, okay? Ready? And deep breath. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Exhale. And I want to end this off by reminding you that you are the inner calm that you're seeking. So I want us all to say, I know your mics are off, and that's fine. You can just say it in your home. I am my inner calm. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to be here and to listen and engage. And I just might set up another workshop before the year ends, because again, I think it's important that we're in this space and community and we continue to remind each other of these truths. So I'll let you know about that. And I hope you all have an amazing day and that you just feel empowered to take on the day and the month and the rest of the year, 2021. We're going to finish it in a beautiful way. All right. I'll see you guys all soon on social media and back maybe in another workshop. Bye, guys.